How good is 15-year-old Jeremy Goheir? Actually, he doesn't walk onto a basketball court. He looms over it. At just 15 years old, Jeremy Goheir already looks like the future crashing into the present. Viral clips made him famous, but hype is cheap. What matters now is the truth. How good is he? Really? Jeremy Goheir doesn't feel real at first glance. You see him next to other teenagers, and your brain refuses to process the scale. This isn't just tall. This is historically tall. And that's exactly why the conversation around him is split. Some see a cheat code, others see a ticking clock. Because basketball history has not been kind to players this size, and pretending otherwise would be lying. Here's the uncomfortable part people skip. Being absurdly tall doesn't guarantee greatness. In fact, past a certain height, it often does the opposite. Bodies break down, mobility disappears, skills stagnate. The league moves on. That's why Jeremy isn't just a curiosity anymore. He's a question mark with consequences. What makes him fascinating isn't just how big he is. It's when he started playing and how he learned the game. This isn't a kid who picked up basketball because a scout knocked on the door. He was in love with the game long before anyone realized he'd tower over everyone else. That matters more than people think. Most giants learn basketball late. They're rushed, simplified, taught to stand, catch, dunk, repeat. Jeremy wasn't raised like that. His foundation came before the growth spurts, before the headlines, before the internet decided who he was supposed to be. That's the first real separator. And then there's the growth curve, which honestly feels unreal. At an age when most kids are worrying about shoes fitting, he was already taller than elite prospects twice his age. Every year added inches. Every summer rewrote expectations. And the scary part? It might not be over yet. But size alone doesn't scare scouts anymore. Skill does. And this is where Jeremy flips the script. Watch closely and you'll notice things that don't belong in a body that large. Coordination, balance, timing. He doesn't move like a novelty. He moves like a basketball player who happens to be enormous. The mobility jumps out first. He runs the floor without looking stiff or panicked. There's rhythm in his stride. He can change direction without needing a reset. For someone his size, that's rare, almost unnatural. And it's the foundation everything else builds on. Then there's the ball handling, which honestly catches people off guard. This isn't a guy fumbling passes or panicking under pressure. He's comfortable with the ball, comfortable enough to bring it up, comfortable enough to make reads. That alone puts him in a different category than most viral giants. His shooting form tells another story. Clean release, natural motion, nothing forced, nothing rushed. You don't see him fighting his mechanics. You see repetition. You see teaching. You see a kid who's been coached properly, not hidden behind his height. In the post, it's not just drop steps and standing dunks. There's footwork, patience, actual moves. He understands angles. He understands when to go quick and when to wait. That feel can't be taught easily, especially at his age. But here's where the hype needs breaks. Most of what people see comes against smaller, weaker competition. Dominance there is expected. It's not proof, it's a baseline. The real evaluation starts when that advantage disappears. Against stronger players, the flaws show up. He's thin. Physics still applies. He can be moved. He can be bumped off spots. Conditioning is a work in progress. Long stretches wear him down. And perimeter defense? Still a mystery. That's not criticism. That's reality. He's 15. Anyone expecting polish at this stage is setting him up to fail. The important thing is whether the raw material justifies patience. And it does. The first real test came on the international stage. Different speed, different physicality, different stakes. No more viral clips, no more easy buckets, just basketball. And for the first time, Jeremy looked human. The stat lines didn't explode. The minutes were limited. The moments were quiet. But context matters. He was younger than almost everyone. less experienced, thrown into a fire most kids never see. And he didn't fold. He competed. He contributed. He learned. And that might be the most important part. Because development isn't about dominance early. It's about how quickly gaps close once they're exposed. There's a massive difference between failing and being unready. Jeremy was unready. That's fixable. Strength can be built. Conditioning can be improved. Reps can be stacked. What you can't teach is size paired with coordination and instinct. That's why the next move matters more than anything. Environment will shape the outcome. Elite coaching, elite competition, daily discomfort. That's where giants either evolve or disappear. If he lands in the right system, everything accelerates. Strength added correctly, workload managed, skills sharpened instead of simplified. Suddenly, the ceiling becomes terrifying. A rim protector who moves, a scorer who passes, a mismatch that bends schemes. But history whispers caution. Bodies this big don't get unlimited chances. One wrong training plan, one rushed timeline, one injury, and the story changes fast. Potential doesn't protect joints. So how good is Jeremy Goheir right now? He's raw, inconsistent, still learning what works against real athletes. His numbers don't scream dominance yet, but the flashes, they're impossible to ignore. He's not a finished product. He's not close, but he's also not a gimmick. He's a long-term bet with rare upside and real risk. Exactly the kind of prospect basketball never stops arguing about. The truth lives in the middle. Too early to crown him, too talented to dismiss him. What comes next will decide everything. What people often underestimate is how rare Jeremy's mental makeup actually is. Height gets attention, but mentality decides survival. Most players his size grow up being protected, overused, or simplified. Jeremy's path has quietly been different. Coaches around him consistently mention competitiveness, coachability, and something scouts obsess over, but fans ignore: patience. He doesn't rush plays just because he can overpower opponents. That restraint at his age is unusual. Another factor flying under the radar is timing. Jeremy is growing up in an era where basketball finally understands giants better. Load management, specialized foot care, biomechanics, nutrition plans built for extreme frames. 20 years ago, players his size were experiments. Today, they're projects with blueprints. That alone increases his odds more than people realize. There's also the stylistic shift in modern basketball working for him. The game isn't just faster, it's smarter. Teams value spacing, vision, and decision-making from bigs. Jeremy already flashes passing instincts that fit today's game. He doesn't see teammates as outlets. He sees them as options. That's the difference between surviving and thriving at the next level. Defensively, his potential goes beyond blocks. It's angles, deterrence, the way guards hesitate just seeing him in the lane. Those moments don't show up in box scores, but they shape games. With proper strength development, that defensive gravity alone could make him valuable even before his offense fully matures. The biggest challenge ahead won't be talent, it'll be identity. Is he developed as a traditional center, a modern stretch big, a hybrid facilitator? How that question is answered will define his ceiling. The wrong role could shrink him. The right one could unlock something basketball hasn't seen yet. There's also pressure that doesn't show up on film. Being the tallest comes with constant expectations. Every game becomes an evaluation. Every bad night becomes a headline. Managing that mentally at 15 is a task most adults couldn't handle. How he processes setbacks over the next few years may matter as much as any workout. What's encouraging is that setbacks haven't shaken him so far. When competition stiffened, he didn't disappear. He adjusted, he listened, he competed. That response tells evaluators more than dominance ever could. Growth moments are louder than highlight reels. Projecting him years ahead is risky, and that's the point. True prospects don't come with guarantees. They come with questions worth asking. Jeremy represents one of those rare cases where the question isn't if he belongs in elite conversations, but when the pieces will align. If development goes right, we're not just talking about size redefining basketball. We're talking about skill catching up to scale. That's when narratives change. That's when skepticism turns into belief. And that transition is what scouts are really watching for. Until then, patience is the test. For fans, for analysts, for Jeremy himself. Basketball history has humbled giants before, but every era gets its exceptions. And every once in a while, a prospect shows just enough to make you stay watching. Not because of what he is today, but because of what he might become. And that's what makes watching him so compelling. Not the height, not the highlights, the journey. So now it's your turn. Where do you think this goes? Superstar, solid pro. What if story? Drop your take, hit like if this breakdown gave you clarity, and subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the hype before it becomes history.